So what we're looking at are our 4 drawings that we had from the last lecture. Now, I've made a little note on my drawing here. It says fixed body. I don't know if you guys noticed this or not when you were looking at the video. I didn't notice it until after the fact when I was reviewing the video myself. But here are my 2 opposing keys. Here's number 1 and here's number 9. Look at the difference in the body. Yeah, they reversed, right? So I had one where the body was forward, and then on my 2 breakdown drawings, my body is forward, my body is forward. But on number 9, I had the body going backwards. So between 5 and 9, if we flip these 2 drawings just to get a sense of the action, there's the action that I really wanted in the body. Okay, but I'm not getting it from here to here. The body's the same. So that means I got to fix this drawing here. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly modify that right now. And that's simply going to require that I change the position of the body to match up with what happened on number 9. So I'm going to trace off, and I don't know if you guys did the same thing or not. If you did, then you can fix it up right away. Just make sure that your body is going in the right direction. If you didn't do that, if you're smart, unlike me, and you made it work properly, then good for you. It's one of those things, I didn't notice it until after the fact when I was reviewing the video and doing my editing on it. I looked at it and went, hey, wait a second, that body does not match up. Okay, so I still want this portion here, the lower body portion, to be in the exact same position. What I want now is I want it to be, my fingers won't come apart. Okay, I want it to be in this body position here. So I'm just going to slide this one underneath here. You can see the body is forward there because it's rotated. So I'm just going to shift it over a little bit and then just lightly trace this off. Get that body. So I want my center line to be over here, and the upper part is going to be centered over there. I'm just going to lightly put my arms in. One there, one on there. So this is my new number 1. Just toss this one off to the side here. And let me double check to make sure that the action is moving properly now. Because I want to go from it's going to go from 1. I need 13. So this is 1 is the in-between between 5 and 13. So let's just check and see if this is now doing what I want it to do. Okay, so that's pretty good. So I think what I'll do is I'll just move this arm forward a little bit further here. It's right about there. Okay, so we now have our 4 drawings, 1, 5, 9, and 13. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drop in some halfway in-betweens on these. So we'll start with 1 and 5. And I'm only going to do 1 to 5. So I'll do 1, I've got 1, I'll do 2, 3, 4 into 5. And then I have my easy bake oven version because I actually did all the other in-betweens earlier and I brought them with me. So all the other drawings are already done now. So we'll just show you the process of doing your halfway in between these 2. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get this action going like this. So we've got to plan where our foot is going. Our foot is planted here. And remember, we've got to track that back along our path of action so that the heel is going to be moving along like this. So the halfway position is going to be right there. That's where the foot will end up being. And when we're going from number 1, the very next drawing, number 2, is where we want to slap the foot down. We don't want it to curl down like it's going on a mushroom, or not a mushroom, but a marshmallow. So we don't want this next drawing with the foot still being up or the toes being up. We want the very next drawing with the foot down. So we know that number 3, with the heel back here, this one here is going to have our foot down in the flat position. So I'm just going to shift and trace this to make sure that my foot is basically the same volume between those two. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out where is our body going. So it's going halfway in between these two. It's dropping down slightly. So number one is the high point. Here I've squished it and it's going down. So I need my drawing to be halfway in between those two. See how the pelvis is dropping down now? And you can also see that going from number one here, with the body curved this way, it's flipping and coming forward. So essentially this is the seaweed action, where we're rotating this and pulling this part here forward with that action there. So I want to get my back to curve. Like that. Okay. My arm is swinging forward and then it's flipping at this point here on number 5. So on the forward action it's dragging this way, and then it's going to flip and come back down on number 5 here. So my halfway position is going to be slightly higher than this one here. So my curvature is going this way. So I'm putting the shoulder and this part of the arm higher, but still dragging on the path of action. So remember the tail on the double ball bounce? How my path of action drags in this direction here. So my hand's dragging back like that. And it'll be on number 4 that I do that transition where I flip it up and over and down, going from here to here. So I'm doing the 180 degrees. It's going from this direction here to that direction there. So I've got to do the 180 degree, 90 degree turn to get it to snap between. So it's going down this way on this one, and on this one here, it's up in this direction here. So my halfway in between here would be like that, almost pointed straight out in order to get it to transition between. That'll be on number 4. So now I need to take my leg from this back position here. It's going to rotate, flip up just slightly. I don't want to necessarily take it off the ground at this point because it's swinging forward. So remember, path of action wise, we wanted it to do this. Going from here to here. So the heel is going to go up into this direction here and then slide down into this position here. So there's my 2 drawings there and there. So my halfway position is going to be up here. There's going to be my key, or not my key, but my in-between. So my toe is going to be down here like this. I might even want to put a little bit of a curvature on that. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so it's going up and back, and then it's going to swing forward. So again, here's where your halfway in between is not half the distance. Remember, we still have to figure out what the path of action is. And because this is overlapping action, remember it goes out and beyond and then comes back. Right? So here's where we have to start really thinking about what are our drawings saying and what are they doing. And not just going to the mechanical halfway position. So now on this one here, I'm going to do a little bit of a bend on the leg there. So I'm going from my straight leg position to that position there, and then traveling back. Okay, so there's my halfway in between there. So now let's go in and do number 2. So number 2, I want my heel to be going from this position here to this position right here. And this is where I go half the distance, but I still slap the foot down. So basically I can do the same thing that I just did, is just shift and trace it. So it smacks down in that position right there. All right, so I'm going from this one to this one, bang, and back. So now I have to decide, let me just draw in my body here because I want the body to sink down. All right, we're going from here to here. So there's just a subtle little bit of a difference in between those two. It's easier if you've got your light table on, obviously, because you can see where the lines are actually going. I remember though when I was in college, I mean, we had electricity back then, just so you know. So the table technology is not any different than it was back then. We still had the exact same type of desks with the disc and the light table. That's been around since the 1930s, basically. The only difference is that when we shot our pencil tests, they were all on film. But I can remember very distinctly my animation instructor saying that when you're doing your animation, don't turn your light table on. Learn to flip the drawings and be able to see the action that's taking place. Don't rely on the light and the distance between the two lines visually to use that. He said, he called it a crutch. Now, personally, I don't think it's a crutch. It's a tool. So whether you use your light table or you don't use your light table is completely up to you. It's fairly good eye training to be able to see it, especially when you're doing your key animation. Not so much in between, but when you're doing your key animation to flip the drawings as much as you possibly can. I'm just going to slide this foot back just a little bit there. Okay, so now I have to decide what am I going to do with this leg here. So what I could do is I could keep this leg straight here. So it goes from this position here to this position here with a straight leg, and then I buckle on the next drawing. Okay? And again, this is just an issue of space and time and how fast we're making things happen. So here again is where a halfway in between is not a halfway in between. We're going from a straight line to a bent line. You would think that the halfway position would be a slightly bent line, right? And that would tend to soften that impact up a little bit more. So if I keep it straight, it's like you hit it hard and then it buckles. Okay, so it just creates this little bit of a snapping action in that foot plant. So you're hitting hard with the heel, boom, down comes the foot, but the leg stays straight, and then you buckle. So it's a 1-2 process. Slap, knee, okay? And it just gives a little bit more of a snap to the overall action. Okay? So again, it's just something to think about when you're doing your in-between. So now I want to in-between my foot from this position here back to that position there. So it's just going to be a little bit of a slide here and starting to bring the heel up. And this one I could definitely do a little bit of a bend on the foot there, where on the top part of the foot I've got a bend in the skin. So that's our number 2 drawing. And I still got to do the arm in here. My arm's going to swing forward, following the path of action. The drag on the hand. Okay, so that's 1, 2, and 3 now. And I'll do 4, and then we'll go to the Easy Bake Oven with all the in-betweens done, and you can see the action overall. And then what I'll do is I'll add on the head, because you need to have all your in-betweens done before you start adding on any secondary action like the head. Because if you only want to delay it by 1 drawing, you need to have that one in-between in there. So I'll explain that some more in just a second here. Okay, so we're going from here to here now. Again, we're doing the heel, this point here, here. Here's my halfway position. Then just shift and trace it. Now, also remember that when you're at this stage in doing your animation, this is all still rough. Okay, this is not necessarily the final version that we're going to do. This is just basically blocking in where everything is, and you can go back and you can still modify things. Don't feel like this is all etched in stone necessarily. You can still play around with it a little bit. That's not working there. That one right there. That's better. Okay, so now I'm swinging this back leg here forward. back is bending there. So what I can do here is I could take my heel from this position here and loop it around just a little bit so it's coming to about that position there. And I can actually put a drag on the toe. So the toe is still moving back from here to here. It's actually just pivoting on that point there as the heel drags forward. And again, that's just another form of overlapping action to it, and then swings forward into there. This chest is not quite in the right place. Okay, and now I need to do my transition between this drawing here and this drawing here. So I'm going to do this as an S curve. I'm going to pull the elbow down, but keep this part here out like that. All right, so now I'm going to point my fingers out. These are just mittens because it's a teddy bear character, so I'm just doing the mitten hand. So I'm going from this drawing to this drawing here. The hand is moving up, and then it flips and reverses. So that's my S curve. Remember the pendulum swing? Okay, that transitional S curve that we put into it to get it dropped down. The other arm on the opposite side, you're not going to see it throughout this whole thing because it's still dragging. We may, actually what I might do is, on this one here, I'm just going to put this drawing here like this. Do that. There. So this hand is flipping up and then coming back down in this one here. All right. So there's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drawings. Let's just put these in order and see how they look. That's nice and smooth there. Okay, so we'll fast forward in time and let me just drop in my other in-betweens here. So we got 6, 7, 8. There's my opposing key. 12. Breakdown, and then the remaining drawings. So here's the entire cycle now. So that's working pretty good. Okay, so there's my overall action. My cycle of my legs working pretty good, and the arms swinging back and forth pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to add on the head. So just as we did with the double ball bounce, remember how we had the one ball coming down, the other one would stretch, and then once it impacted, it would overlap. So the two are going like this. That's the same idea that we want to do here. It's just our action on our body. If you notice the action on the shoulder part, you just flip it again and you can see what's happening with the shoulders specifically. See how the shoulders are going forward and back this way? Okay, so what we want to do now is we don't want to attach the head to that action so that the shoulders are going forward and back like this. You don't want them both going at the same time like this. You want to delay it. So what you want to do is you want to have this drawing here when it starts to come forward, this one delays, and then it catches up, so you're doing this. Okay? So we're overlapping the drawings, and you can do it by one drawing, you can do it by two drawings, you can do it by three drawings if you want to really exaggerate it even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap it by two drawings. So let me just find where my key position is for my head snap, or the shoulder snap forward. Right there. Number 4 is the forward position, and then the body starts to go back into that position there. So it's number 4 is my key position for the body. right? So number 4. Then what I want to do, so it's coming forward here, then it starts to move back. So I want to delay it by 2, so I'm going to go to 5, 6. So I go to 5 and 6. My fingers aren't working right now. So there's number 6 there. So what I want to do on this drawing then is I want to put the head in the forwardmost position. Now, my number 1 drawing, the original one, had the shape of the head as being like this. So it's a nice big Care Bear type head. Just make the character cuter. So there's the shape of my character's head. So what I want to do on this drawing here is I want to get that head forward in its forwardmost position over here. So what I can do is I can just shift and trace this. Now there are 2 ways of doing this, and I'm going to leave it up to you. Okay, I'm doing it right on the drawing, so in order for me to do this properly, I have to have all my in-betweens done, which I do have them all done. So I can now go back and I can shift 2 drawings so that I'm on an in-between drawing here and make this my key position. Or what I could do is on a separate sheet of paper, I can just cycle the head forward and back and not have to worry about which drawing it's landing on with the body. And then go back after the fact and just shift it over by 2 and trace the heads off. Okay? And treat it as a separate layer. Okay? That way, you're just concentrating on the action of the head moving forward and back like this and doing whatever tilt you want and making sure that that's nice and smooth without worrying about what's going on with the body. It's sort of the same thing. It's just, if you choose to do it that way, it's less complicated. All right? I'll leave it up to you. So, this drawing here is my forwardmost position, so now the head's going to start to move back on number 7. So if I just do it this way, just so you can see it very, very quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the back line of the head here. Okay, this line right here, from where it connects to the neck through to the top of the head there, just to give you a sense of how it's going to overlap and flow back into the next position. And this is straight ahead animation, by the way. Okay, the reason it's straight ahead is because it is overlapping action. We're just sort of going with the flow of what the action of the body is. This is your primary motivator here. It's saying this is what's happening. This is going back and forth like this. So we basically just have to follow what it's doing. And the fact that we're delaying it by 2 drawings just means that we have to delay it by those 2. And then we play it out, see how it works, and then we can go back and modify it. All right? So on this drawing here, this is where the head is starting to come back. So what I can do here is I can take this part of the head here, like this, and overlap the line a little bit like this. So this part here, see it's starting to move back, but this part here is moving forward. So we're just doing a little bit of that head tilt, where the head's just going to bob forward like that. So then on number 8, I need to start to pull it back, because you can see if I leave it in the same position there, see how much the body moves? It's going to look weird. So I have to now shift this over and start to get it to catch up. So it's going to move back to that position there. So I'm moving from here to here to here. So now on number 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got to pull the head back even further. So I'm just going to lightly draw it in here, that position. And then just shift and trace it so I'm getting the same type of line. So now we can get into the roll foot thing here, where you grab all the sheets of paper between your fingers. Oops. See how it pulls back there? 9, 10. Now here's where it's starting to reverse direction and come forward, but we still want the head to be going back. So again, just very lightly drawing this in here. I still want it to go back, so it's slowing into that position there. Okay, and now it's going to start to pull forward, delaying by 2 drawings. 9, 10, 11. 11 is 2 drawings after. So now I'm going to start to pull it forward. So this part here will start to come forward, and I'm going to keep this back part here slightly closer to it, again to get that overlapping action. Okay, so now both lines are coming forward in this direction here. Now it's coming forward, so again just lightly drawing it in here. I'll probably have to do some modifications on it just to get it to match in. Now the body's starting to come back. So here's now where I want to reverse the direction on this part here, but keep this part up at the top going forward slightly. This is seaweed action. It's just a stiff seaweed. And then 15 is now where everything kicks back. 13, 14, 15, 2 drawings after. Okay, so let me just take a look at how these are working now. So remember the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 starts on 6, so there's the head there, 6. See how it's delaying there? You know, it's slightly hard to see, but it's there. It'll be easier once I do a pencil test of it. It actually looks like, I think on this drawing here, number 12, what I need to do is just delay that top a little bit more. I'm making the top move too fast forward from here to here. Between these ones here, it's just moving forward too fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the line so it's there instead. That's better. And then I'll probably have to modify 13 as well because it'll jump too far. Yeah. Just pull it back to there. And then 14 I allow it to go over. So the bottom part is now going back in this direction, but the top is going over in this direction here. And then what I really need to do, in order to make this absolutely right, is pull this drawing here, this line over here, more over there. So it's sort of hugging to where the top of the line is. So that would work better there. Okay. So then on 16, I'm coming back. Everything's coming back in this direction. I know I'm losing the volume on the line here. And then we go back into number 1. This will all make sense when I shoot it as a pencil test. Now it's going to start to come forward here. So I'm going to overlap the top part. And I'll probably have to modify my number 6. You'll see how it links together here. Yeah, it's not quite linking in there. See how it twists over a little bit too far there? I could force this one to halfway in between it, but I'm still going to have to fix up my number 6. And that's what happens when you try and overlap something in a cycle, is you'll find that what you chose for your very first drawing may not actually work properly. You can see the shape of the line actually changes quite a bit from number 4 to 6. So I will have to go back and modify that some more. I'm just going to pull it back to there. So let's just see how this links in. See it happening there? So that's the general idea. As you can see how the head bops forward on the overlap. So then when I go back now and draw in the volume, it'll make more sense. So what I'll do is I won't draw it right now, but I'll shoot a pencil test of this, and then what I'll do is I'll fill in the drawings, and then I'll shoot another pencil test of it and just run it right after. And you'll be able to see how the two of them match up together. And then what I'll do is I'll go back and start to tighten the whole thing up, clean up the drawings, start to put some features on the face, and start to do a little bit of a head rotation back and forth this way as well. So it's not just bopping forward like that, flat. It'll actually do a side-to-side type thing where it comes forward and away, forward and away, forward and away. All right? Okay, so I'll do all that again in my Easy Bake Oven version of it. All right?